Welcome to Where Are They Now? I'm your host, Heather Lindstedt from the Chelmsford High class of 1985, and I have a special guest today with me, also from the class of 1985, Stephen Mew. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Flattered to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, I think it's an excellent time for us to talk anyways, because, you know, we're going to go into our 40th reunion this year. So I'm sure that there's been lots of happenings before.
I've waited 44 years for this opportunity to actually talk to the famous Heather Lindstedt, let alone spend quality time with her this week.
I don't think I'm too famous, but any more famous than you. You spent your whole time in Chelmsford, right? The town up.
Yes, I have.
Your sister followed you, so you were the lead going into it. Mm-hmm. We all talk about the class of 85 being the first, right? The first ninth grade class going there. Were you ready for the experience, or did you think it was going to be overwhelming?
No, I mean, honestly, growing up in Chelmsford and then going, we went by him to Parker, to CHS, and I think that, that whole, series of graduations, if you will, right? And we call them graduations now, right? Yeah. Politically correct. I think did a good job of preparing us from going from a single school to a larger school to an even larger school, right? And I think it was the preparation was fine, and I think but it was still a little bit overwhelming at times, right? So you'll remember I was a little bit on the short side, and so walking in to a school, the youngest in the youngest class, and then seeing a bunch of other people who were smaller of stature, but then seeing a whole bunch of people that were basically full-grown adults with beards and all that stuff too. So it was a little bit intimidating at times. But
did you feel like when you got there, though, that there was, kind of with the houses and stuff like that and the class size, did you feel like, I know these guys from McCarthy and Parker, and I'm going to find my way?
Yeah, I think where the administration really did a good job in terms of better integrating all the students from all the different grades was doing that division right into the four houses. So it really also emulated the college, the university structure, right, where you go to the college and then you have your individual departments and all that fun stuff. Yeah. So I think that did definitely help with the transition and just being able to acclimate socially as well as academically. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you did get into some clubs. When did you start getting into after-school programs and stuff like the chess club and those kind of things? When did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, being the dutiful Chinese son, right, we were pretty much mandated to join all those nerd clubs, right? So we did math league, right, and that was pretty much right off the bat in junior high and, in the ninth grade. And then, and then when all the nerds in the math club were also doing chess club, we just kind of followed, right? Yeah. So it was just, something to do. But, eventually some of my less nerdy friends, that I'd met through, through swimming in junior high and all that, they convinced me to join the swim team. I had a little chat with Coach Thomas at the time, or Mr. Thomas at the time. And so I joined the swim team in sophomore year, right? So those were the three primary clubs through the years.
Prior to that, though, did you have that kind of swim group at the Russell Mill tennis club? I mean, everybody kind of swam there and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But where did you have the swim friends?
I had swim friends, but they weren't from the traditional, right? Either Chelmsford Swim and Tennis or Russell Mill. Yeah. We did. There was a small handful of us who had swam during the off seasons at the little boys club or the YMCA. Yep. Right? So those are the teams that I had more focused on. During the summers, we were always busy traveling and all that, so it really wasn't conducive to those.
And I would have to say there had to have been no qualms about Mr. Thomas taking on somebody in his sophomore year. I mean, he was probably the truest coach of that sport.
Oh yeah, I mean, swimming has always been very inclusive sport, right? Yep. I mean, you heard other former swimmers mention that, right? Again, being kind of a nerd, I think it just added a little bit to the diversity of the team. It didn't hurt that one of my specialty strokes was needed on the team at the time. Yeah. So I was able to participate and contribute to the team at least until Mark Lavarne came after me and just blew all my times away and all that stuff, which was great too. I was there to.
But you were the leader of that. He wouldn't have been as good at it if.
Oh no! There's natural talent, and then there's me.
Okay. In that whole qualm, though, Mr. Thomas and those, who else had a great influence on you at Chelmsford High?
Yeah, I mean, I had Mr. Thomas primarily as a coach. I didn't
Yeah.
have him for history or any of the classes, but back then, the teachers were all very focused and all very helpful for getting a lot of key principles across, right? So I think I probably did learn a little something from every one of my teachers. I think the ones that really, helped shape, my future more substantially were not necessarily the academic side, but it was really what they did with the academics, how they presented it, and what we were able to, what resonated and what we were able to take over. So Mr. Where in calculus, for instance, had a lot of patience with me. Also, again, hard to believe, right? A Chinese guy, not good in math, but I got a 46 on my very first exam. With Mr. Ware, and I, of course, was shocked, and my parents were so disappointed, and but he was very patient, worked with me on a few key things, and then I doubled my score to a 92 on the next exam, and then I was kind of off to the races, right? So it took a little while to get in the swing of things for that. Yeah. You had Mr. Parker's on the chemistry side, who really had a way of introducing, a lot of fun concepts in chemistry, making it fun and being able to say, well, this is important because of X, Y, Z, or that's important because of X, Y, Z. We had Mrs. O'Keefe in biology, who really, taught a lot of the more esoteric natures, I'll call it some of the more non-tangibles associated with getting scores and getting marks, right? It's not necessarily getting the right answers all the time, but it's how you present it and in what form and all that. So those are all very valuable life lessons going on, because life is not always about right and wrong answers, right? Right. And I think, I'm going to call out Mrs. Sweetsman, although I did not have her for math in CHS, I think single-handedly she had an assignment. I had her in algebra in Parker here, and she had a little side assignment for us besides teaching us, right, y equals mx plus b and all those algebraic stuff. But she had a little project for us on how to track stocks and how to value them and all that fun stuff. So through that exercise, which was really a side exercise for the class, it really dawned on me what investing could mean and what patience could mean, and the value of just staying firm and kind of holding the line through good and bad times. And that while my parents were always investing and all that, I never really understood it until she exposed us to it. So I think that's the single biggest thing which really enabled our retirement, right? So I think that's the key thing. And there's just so many teachers in general who. Yeah,
it was kind of a big community, but a small community, as we said. It was the largest community from where we had come, right? From the Byams to the Parker.
Applying their unique teaching methods to try to teach us something beyond what the books would teach us, right? You would never guess, right? We had some side conversation we had with Mr. Battle in world history. I learned that America, the U.S. dollar, was no longer on the gold standard, but it was just printed. So that got me looking right in the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? We didn't have the internet back. Looking it up, it's just like gold standard.
What did he just say? He said a lot of crazy things.
He said a lot of crazy things, but a lot of it stuck. But I mean, this was one of the things that I would learn later on in business school. That sure, indeed, through many different treaties between countries over the world and all that, the advent of fiat currency would be born, right? And I wouldn't really appreciate fiat currency until my latest role in working at fintechs, right? In terms of what fiat currency is, what it can do, why it's important, and all the new crypto technologies that are kind of working around the fiat hierarchies and stuff.
So with all of that, is that how you chose what you thought you were going to go to UMass Amherst for, or did you just go to UMass Amherst and still talking to your parents about what you're going to do, or?
That's a great question. It was a decision that I made probably somewhat in a vacuum, right? Yeah. All parents, from my world, want their kids to go to Ivy League schools and this, that, the other thing. I was a very marginal student. Maybe, I hung out with the nerds, but was not necessarily a nerd myself. And from that perspective, I couldn't get in. So I didn't get in. I got into a bunch of my tier 2 schools, but when I started looking at different curricula, and I said, oh, and I looked at what electrical engineering majors entry-level salaries were making out of all the different schools, and UMass had the highest average salaries. I said, oh, I'll go to UMass then, because that was a very black and white a number-based thing, right? So then we graduated, did engineering stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Went on to get a master's degree, did in manufacturing, did some manufacturing engineering stuff for a while, did some engineering management, and then realized, oh, this kind of sucks being an engineer all the time, because a lot of decisions that are being made are not based on best designs or best technologies, but what the business needs at the time, right? What am I missing? You're missing business experience, right? So then you go back for a business degree to kind of learn what you were missing, right? Fill gaps. So I would say life, for me anyways, has much been a journey of learning, right? A quest to learn more, to be able to take what I've learned and apply them in new and special ways.
So can you admit that you're humble in your academics and that you kind of forged a path, although you were saying that you weren't there, but you forged a path where you knew that you were going to get to the next level?
No.
No?
I cannot say that, right?
Really?
Absolutely not, because
you were just taking a chance on yourself?
I went off in a life co-op.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Multiple degrees, multiple jobs, doing very different things in different industries, right? Gravitating, really concentrating in media and entertainment, and medical devices, and then later in fintech and other sorts of technology, identity systems, biometrics, and all that. But each one of those had a common theme, and those common themes could be applied from basic education and lessons from the previous jobs that we've had. So it was very much, the path taken was very random, but the assignment, right? The assignments that we took and how we shaped those opportunities was carefully, I'll say, was designed. Right. Okay. When I get in there and you learn what needs to be done, you just do what's needed to be done. You hope that the bosses are happy. If the bosses are happy, you hope they take care of you, and then eventually, right, companies either fail or they get acquired or they just plod along, and that's kind of been the way. Well,
let's talk about it then. You've got 20 patents.
Yep.
What was your hardest one to finagle, as I guess you're saying, and impress the bosses?
It's totally finaglement when it comes to patent creation and patent issuance and then awards and all that. No, I mean, they're, so the patents that I received are, again, in a variety of different industries, right? They range from biometrics to financial tokenization to identity tokenization and secure data elements to autonomous vehicles, right? So I think that the hardest one is always the first one, like they say. And
which one was that?
And that would be the one that was basically the creation of a digital identity ecosystem, right? So we hear now about all these companies trying to consolidate your bank account so that you can go and share your digital wallet here and share your digital wallet there and all that. There's a lot of risk, right? There's a lot of risk about being hacked, about being scammed. And so how do you go about and you protect at the basic level, how do you protect your password and your user account, right? When it's being shared with so many different companies in all these different non-standard ways and this, that, the other thing. So the first patent received was basically an envisionment and then an execution whereby if we were to do this, what would be the best way in order to handle the data, solve the problem, right? Address the need, solve the problem, but then have minimal repercussions that could expose any company to the financial and the legal risk associated with it. So once you could then begin to take all these different experiences in the past and apply them in different ways, you can say, oh, well, what if we use this type of technology and you applied it this way? What if you use these types of policies and applied it this way? Blah, blah, blah. What does that state diagram look like? And would that state diagram stand up, under these different types of, cyber attacks or whatever? So that's it. And then from there, everything else is easy.
Okay. So as you're making these life changes and paths, and your parents, as you just mentioned, had a path that they thought you were going to take,
Oh, I disappointed them many times.
I was going to say, what was kind of those kind of conversations once in a while?
There were conversations that ranged from, why can't you be like your sister? She's so smart, right?
Yeah.
To
did your sister go to an Ivy League?
She did.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And she stayed. She stayed through to get her PhD.
Where'd she
and
go?
she went to Cornell.
Okay.
Right. And now she's teaching at teaching in university. Tenured. She's got manages millions of dollars in grants regarding things that the country needs now, like intelligent power distribution and stuff like that. So she's often sought as as experts and testifies in groups and stuff like that. Conversations back, so that was the model that I had to follow, right? Even though I was older,
you were the oldest,
right? Even though I was older, to conversations like, oh, Stephen, I only worry about one thing. I worry about your jobs because you change jobs so often and this, that, the other thing. Eventually time came and, the realization finally hit. And I think after a year or so of telling my mom that I was going to retire, she finally accepted it and gave me a happy retirement card. Okay. With a check inside.
Oh, okay.
Just in case.
Now, did you become an adjunct professor at ULowell because you had to follow your sister?
No,
they wanted you to be more like her?
No, I think in that particular case, right, it's as I said, right, my life has been a co-op, right? And really the focus has been on just personal learning, right? And learning more and gathering more. Eventually you reach a point where you say, well, I really want to kind of give back and share, right? So, you be an adjunct faculty, you're certainly not doing it for the money. There's really no money in it, but you meet a lot of students, right? And you meet a lot of good students, and the ones that really have some motivation, maybe a modicum of smarts, but they have motivation, right? And so just reflecting back from the different high school teachers and then some of the university professors and all that, and you hope that you can have maybe the same impact on a small handful of other students. So it's kind of a way to give back. Yeah. The ULowell, the experience at ULowell, being an adjunct there for a few years, opened up networking opportunities and other things as well. And then so it became more of community service. We have this community ed program, blah, 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 blah. Would you mind teaching some or giving us some help there? So that became, it became something that I volunteered with for several years until they, basically shut or reduced the programs being offered.
But what about going into coaching?
Again, giving back, right? Giving back to the students and giving back to students and those, with a little bit of athletic skill, but with the drive or whatever. Yeah. So we were able to do a little bit of coaching for the ULowell's community ed program and all that. Yeah. So I think I did that for about 12 years, just helping them at a level of professionalism and at a level of skills and techniques and basic coaching type encouragements, right, to the kids. Some of them went on to become pretty good swimmers at their own high schools and stuff like that. So that was fun. That was fun.
Did you? I mean, was it a challenge though to I don't know? There's different levels, right? Like
there's different levels, right? So I mean, with Mr. Thomas and Steve Weisfeld, who was the assistant coach at the time, right? I mean, they came in, they had an idea what they wanted. Everybody on the team already knew the drills and they could do that. These were kids, and so it was easy swimming the plan that the coaches had set out here. But for a lot of the younger kids who wanted to be more serious about swimming, but didn't have the means to get there or didn't have access, access to a swim team in school. What we were able to provide at that point in time was, were a lot of the basic drills, right? Understanding, okay, we're going to call you this. We're going to call these types of drills out. Here's why we're doing it. Here are the muscle groups that we're working on. Do it this way, right? We would take their strokes, we would break it down, try to improve their basic form so they could get more strength out of their pulls or more endurance out of their lungs or whatever the case is, right? And so seeing them improve, right? Breaking their technique down, rebuilding it, and then watching them improve very noticeably, very satisfying, right?
So like an engineer though, rebuilding.
Yeah, finding problems and then making the things better.
And making it comfortable for them.
Absolutely.
To be in the pool and doing those kind of things, and being like, oh, I can do this too.
Yes.
And they probably got quite a few of them to be passionate about it.
Yes, and you don't do it for this reason, but a lot of very grateful parents, right, that came and recognized, oh, they wouldn't have gotten, this type of training, or they come back the next year and want more training and all that fun stuff, right? So these were, it was always very good to get to see the same kids back again to learn more, get the next level of tips and tricks, so to speak, right?
So you have 4 children.
I have 3 kids.
Three.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's
yeah.
okay.
So you have 3. All
it feels
3
like 4.
Went through Chelmsford High.
They did.
And so who's more like your sister, and who's more like you?
Oh, gee.
Or are they not doing that?
No.
Are they not driving you crazy by being in a co-op?
Yeah, no. I can't say if they're like my sister or not. Some of them may or may not be more like my wife or me. That might be. But my eldest was Eric. He's a 2017 grad. Very studious, very focused, good student, dutiful Chinese son. Okay, and he works hard, helps the parents out all the time, and will complain about it, but at the end of the day, very dependable and gets the job done. Right, has a good job. All wonderful, creating an ROI for us, right? So that's all fine. My daughter's a 2019 grad, Lene, very social, a little bit more of a social butterfly. Probably takes that a little bit from me because I was neither a nerd nor a jock, but somehow I floated between the two very seamlessly, and she has just great personality. Got some brains behind her and all that, and so she's very successful, great with her hands, very artsy crafty, yet very technical as well. So very diversified background. Also working, creating an ROI, and then my little guy Phil, he's a 2021 grad who I think at the end of the day did pretty well academically. We'll never know because he stopped giving class ranks at CHS, but I think he really found his way at university, and so he ended up doing ROTC on a full scholarship at WPI. He recently graduated with co-terminal MS and BS degrees in EE. So the fact that he's an electrical engineer probably makes him act more like us, and then of course commissioned in as a butter bar. Last month. So he's in Germany now and trying to get himself situated and all that. His 3rd week on the job. He likes it so far. Earning an ROI for the family. So I think so they're all out there doing their own thing, and so we've accomplished the task we set out at.
And you've done lots and lots and lots of travel. And during that, did you take the kids with you? Or do you think that was a growing experience, or was something that you did prior to? Or?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I worked a lot, right?
Yeah.
I worked a lot, and through a lot of the jobs, did all the travel through work. So I only had one opportunity to take the family on a trip, and that was a local trip to Virginia for a trade conference and all that. And so they went out and did his Colonial Williamsburg while I stood in at the conference center. But no, most of my travel was done by myself because I would frequently go overseas to the Far East 3 weeks or a month at a time, right? I'd go to Europe for a couple of weeks at a time, or whatever the case is, Australia for a couple of weeks at a time. So, so through all that, we saw a lot of the world, met a ton of people. Learned a lot about their cultures, their customs, and all that fun stuff. So I think that was, again, the life learning thing. Yeah. But very greedily, no, my family did not get a chance to experience that. That is up to them.
That's up to them.
To forge their own path.
Obviously, your youngest son right now,
He'll do it. He's gone. He went to Eastern Europe by himself already. He's gone to China by himself already. Yeah. And now he's in Germany, right? So so there may be a lot more travel for him, whether by himself or with friends later on in the future. We don't know. Everybody else, though, when they get the urge, they'll get the urge, and then it's up to them to do it. If I'm up for it, maybe I'll go with them. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your family had a wonderful experience at Chelmsford High, and for that your parents and created a scholarship.
Yeah. So. My father passed away in 2001 of cancer and all that. And, really, of course, who influences you the most? It has to be the parents, right? All this stuff, we're really still mostly shaped and influenced by our parents.
Yep.
And he really had a lot of influence on me, and in his own way. Chinese parents tend to be very hands-off. My parents were not tiger parents at all when it came to grades or studying, which is probably what created this. But he was very wise, and he had done his own fair share of travel, and he had done his own. He had done very well professionally himself and all that fun stuff. So he had a lot of professional career type advice for us growing. So he was the one really that really wanted me to broaden the high school experiences and really assimilate into the high school and really get to learn more than just the academics, right? And so it was really with his guidance and his encouragement. Long story short, when he passed away, we created a scholarship in his name, which is how I try to stay close to the school. Yep. But unlike other scholarships, which are more heavily academically oriented, top grades or whatever the case is, his scholarship was very much embodied what he believed in, which is that anybody is worthy of a scholarship if they have the personal drive to do so. Not everybody starts in high school fast and number one in the class, right? Many people start out slow, but then they find their rhythm, and then they want to try to improve. And so from those perspectives, he wanted to recognize those kids. And so our scholarship is really more for, quote unquote, most improved, right? Most academically improved. So a little twist, right? Twist on the usual stuff that you would expect.
Right. Yeah, but it must be great to be able to give that gift and kind of like what you were just saying about your swim group in Lowell. Right?
It's the team, right?
Give them something and create so that they have a passion, but they're not sure how to
manifest it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And a scholarship like that really helps that situation.
And we thank CHSAA, right, for giving us the means to set that up.
Right, absolutely. So I hope this was as enjoyable as you thought. I mean, I don't think I'm famous. I think I'm more down here. I might have played a few sports or whatnot, but I am so glad that we got to talk. And again, we've got our class reunion coming up, so you better be there. So,
well, it won't be 40 years.
It will be.
So we'll see you there.
We'll see you there. Thank you so much. To everybody here, I hope you truly enjoyed meeting Stephen and having him hang out with me. So come back again and watch Where Are They Now? Thank you.